as the market shifts and as we have transactions that I feel there's a greater fallout now than there was 6 months ago. Because I think transactions are less likely to fall apart when they know that there was 10, 15, 20, 100 other offers in place, right? They're not going to make a big deal about the inspection results. They're going to do everything they can because they realize the value of them winning, in a way, winning that multiple offer scenario. I've had 2 recently where, remember the one that we talked about? I don't know if we talked about online or offline, but it was a bigger company that paid way more than asking so that they would get the property. And then on the inspection, they negotiated the price down, but still was above our list price and any other competition. And then another couple weeks later, you know what they did? They just
down a little further.
They just canceled it. They canceled it. They had little down payment.
When that was canceled, was there a buyer directly behind them buying it? Because that used to be, I'm not saying this company does, so that used to be a shady way of doing it. They would have a buyer, a company would come in and put, a huge offer on it, whatever it happened to be, would put a huge offer on it, over ask. The appraisal and everything would come back. They would bid it down, put a very, very low down payment, and then it would still be above the original ask price. And then all of a sudden, it would back out on it. And then the next day, another buyer would jump in with all cash at like 10% below. And that 10% below buyer actually had to do with the whole entire transaction. It was just a way of them setting it up. It's a shady way of doing it, but anchoring prices in negotiations.
Getting rid of the competition and then negotiating themselves when there's nobody else around. So I think you're going to see more and more of that as there's big national companies, big banks that have said publicly that they're going to be buying as much real estate as possible to use as rental properties in their portfolio. But I want to explain the scenario that I gave to my seller beforehand. When this offer came in, I go, well, yeah, it was 20% more than our list price. So it appeals to the larceny in their soul, right? Like, oh my gosh,
the larceny in their soul,
right? They can get 20% more. So you have to address it. You and I talked about it, like the likelihood of this going through is in the lower single digit percentile. But if you don't address it and you don't accept it or do whatever the seller wants to do, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get fired. Right? One of our duties is as an agent, and if you're in a market where you have, you're an exclusive seller's agent, then you have to obey. You have to do what the seller says you're supposed to do. And
can I tell you how?
So the conversation I had with the seller when this offer came in, I said, look, I don't think, here's my thoughts. They're going to, after the inspection, they're going to try to bring us down in price. And then after that, I see you again getting even more.
I don't know what's happening here.
After the inspection, they're going to try to bring us down in price. But then at some point, they're going to negotiate us even further. I think there's a slim to no chance of this ever closing. However, this is what I said, slim or no chance of this ever closing. However, it's worth the extra 20% to see what happens, right? We'll be courteous to all of because we had multiple offers around full or a little bit over. Say, we'll be courteous to them and say, hey, if something falls through, can we hold you as a backup or contact you at that time because it's an investment property? They all said yes, sure, yeah, great. And guess what happens? At the inspection, they negotiated us down, and then they just killed it after. So
my seller, why they killed it?
No, and if you're in New York State, attorney disapproval can happen, and they don't need to give a reason because of attorney-client privilege. So they didn't, and so my seller is not distraught necessarily or doesn't think that I did a bad job because the expectation that I gave them when it came in was like, I don't think this will ever close. That's my honest opinion. If it did, we'd be surprised and they'd be happy. But since it didn't, they said to me, oh, you were right. And I'm like, well, we don't have the attorney disapproval yet, but let's take it from under contract or pending to active as soon as possible because we can't wait. Right? Time is of the essence. And I think sometimes, and this is really what I want to talk about today, when things are going wrong, agents, while they're trying to fix this, they're not getting
run and hide.
Yeah, they'll run and hide, Or they'll say, no, let's keep it pending. Let's keep it pending. Let's keep it pending. I'm the opposite. I'm like, you know what? This looks like it's going to fall apart. Let's put it on the market and say contingent on a release, whatever your state's laws are, contingent on release of the first offer. Let's get showings in there, because if not, we're going to be released right around Christmas time or the holidays when traffic might be less. So let's get ahead of this. And that's not put our head in the sand, as just like you said, run and hide.
No, and I don't know what's up. My
Don't be an
camera's
ostrich.
balanced today, and I think that's what it is. I think a lot of times agents in general may be afraid to have that conversation with that seller about, this could happen, this could happen, that could happen, especially when they're going to be so excited about that overvalue offer, and all of a sudden you're like, you don't say anything to them, then the deal falls apart, and all of a sudden they're annoyed at you, and it's all your fault because you didn't set the right expectations.